It is hot. It is smoky. It is Southern California. It is sultry. It is Slammin Stan, episode number 11. I am Vandal Drummond with Fredo Esparza. How are you tonight, Alfredo?
Rather warm, actually.
Oh, my Lord. You know what?
I
have not been able to go running for almost a week now, and I am climbing the walls. I'm going nuts.
You know, my sister's kids just started school about a week ago, and they've been coming over the past couple of days, and their skin is like, you know, they're dark-skinned.
Yes.
If you put their skin next to mine, and I'm like pale. I'm just really pale at the moment because I'm not going out or anything.
Oh, my Lord. You feel like a true gringo now, don't you?
Yeah, I'm a gringo. Oh, you know, I was reading your website earlier when you were mentioning that you had posted some videos up on your website.
Yes.
And I saw that you were honoring Pat Howitt.
Pat Howitt, yes. We want to do a special birthday greeting to Pat Howitt, who is better known to the old XPW fans as Larry Rivera. Pat Howitt has been a friend of mine for about 23 years now. And, boy, this is one guy who's done a lot of different, had his hand in a lot of different things. Of course, Abdullah Larry Rivera, as we originally called him before he was just playing Larry Rivera in XPW. His persona on that show started out as a Victor Rivera impersonation that he would execute whenever we went on trips to Tijuana to watch the Lucha in the late 80s. Pat Howitt did the greatest Victor Rivera imitation, and every time we went on a TJ run, we always requested that he cut an interview, cut a promo, and it morphed into him doing the character along with Danny Wolf for Incredibly Strange Wrestling, and then XPW. In addition to pro wrestling, he is a member of the group Brujeria, whose first album was La Raza Odiada, and included an appearance by Jello Biafra as Pete Wilson in their initial cut, and they are still going strong. He was also a member of the group Foreign Object as a masked guitarist named Scarface the Womanizer. The leader of that band is the late Stefan De Leon, who was the Masked Anarchy and was excellent in that role. Miss Stefan a lot, miss Foreign Object a lot. Want to, just give a really happy birthday to Pat Howitt, who's probably not listening to this podcast because he has a lot of more important things to do. But happy birthday all the same. Hope everything is going well with you, and hope to see you. It's been a long time since I've seen Pat. Hope to see him soon.
I thought about using one of Brujeria songs for an intro.
Oh, that'd be a great opener.
But then I thought, maybe we'll lose a couple of people on
Then again, we might gain a few people.
Yeah, that's true. So the big story this past week seems to be, well, actually not the big story, but one of the many stories that's going on is Alex Koslov lost the Loser League AAA match at Verano de Escándalo. And all over the internet, everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Well, actually, it's just him I think he's trying to work everybody into believing he's gone from AAA.
So he's gone but not gone. It's a typical modern-day Loser League Town match where the person actually hangs out.
Well, because he was one of the first guys who was mentioned joining. You've seen Conan created a new faction. It's the same Foreign Legion, but a different group of people. And
I have not seen that, actually.
Yeah, it'll probably be on a later show, but it's basically right now the only other male on the team is Teddy Hart.
Yes.
And everybody else is a female. So everybody.
Fascinating.
When it first came up, it was going to be Koslov was mentioned as one of the guys who was going to join. Because I don't know if have you kept up with any of those segments where Koslov was confronted by Conan?
No, okay. I saw some other segments where Koslov
is upset at Sean Waltman, right?
Yes. I've seen other segments with him, but not the ones with him and Conan.
Yeah, well, Conan's kind of implied. I think there were points where he would actually tell him, where he would bring it up, try to start bringing him in to his faction. So I'm guessing he's probably going to join that group. But I mean,
so this is clearly then a worked Lucha Leave Town.
Well, you know, the thing is, it's been a year since he jumped from CMLL to AAA, so you never know. I mean, I think
this
Dr.
is true.
Lucha would probably be the one that would know more about it.
So it sounds so integral to the storyline that you just described.
Yeah, it just seems like it'd be the ideal situation because he's one of those guys who jumped. Obviously, he would join Conan's group, but especially with so many women in the group.
It's funny. When I was a kid, Lucha Leave Town matches always meant that the loser left town. Yeah. And then at some point, when LaBelle territory got in their desperate years, a Loser Leave Town match meant that the loser had to leave for 3 months, something like that. And then, you know, once the regional territories died, I mean, the purpose of a Loser Leave Town was, you know, the loser was leaving to move on to another territory.
Yeah.
But, you know, when the regional territory died, Loser Leave Towns usually were just angles to have the loser return under a mask.
Yeah, like Brian Pillman.
Yes, Brian Pillman, you know, Dusty Rhodes, Tommy Rich.
Yeah.
There's a whole slew of them. One of the, you know, few legit ones was when Ric Flair did his swan song the first time he was with the WWF and lost a Loser Leave WWF match to Kurt Hennig. I believe that's the angle they did, wasn't it?
That was a good angle too. Because I remember him running. I think they threw out Bobby Heenan too, didn't they?
I don't remember that. I remember it was one of the few times I was watching Raw during that period. Somebody called me earlier that day to tell me Kurt Hennig and Ric Flair should have a kick-ass match tonight, and Ric Flair is leaving, so watch it. And I tuned in, and I'm glad I did.
So how often did you watch Raw, like in the 90s? You didn't keep up with it at all?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Very rarely. I was just really into Lucha, started to really get an interest in other hobbies like cult films. That was when I discovered the great shops in the L.A. area like Mondo Video, Go-Go, and Eddie Brandt's Saturday Matinee out in Van Nuys. And so I watched a lot less wrestling in general, save for CMLL and AAA.
Yeah, I just remember like 94, 90, like before Nitro started, I wouldn't watch like certain shows. Like I wouldn't watch Raw on a regular basis. And then when Nitro started, then I started watching everything, you know. And then and now it's like, oh, okay, I don't think I want to watch this. I'll skip that.
Oh man, this DVR age is so interesting because I spend so much time just pressing that button to fast forward through segments. It's so much more efficient than when we had VCRs or, you know, DVDs. It's just like, don't want to see this
now on YouTube too. So
yeah, in fact, I was perusing YouTube a little earlier today, and boy, was I having a blast. I saw so many hallucinogenic entities. It was a joy. I saw a few clips from DDT wrestling and Big Japan wrestling.
Yeah, those promotions are the ones that, I think those are the ones that don't get caught. So they're always online for some reason.
There's one that was just posted. I don't know how recent the match was, but it was a tag team match involving little children.
It's probably DDT.
It was DDT.
Yeah.
What the clip I saw from Big Japan Wrestling, I don't know who the wrestlers were, and again, I really am working at trying to get caught up on this kind of stuff because there's so much beautiful stuff out there. The Big Japan Wrestling clip I saw was a grocery market death match.
That's old, isn't that?
It might be, yeah. To be honest, I was just randomly clicking away. I know that the DDT footage I saw was just posted.
Yeah.
You know, but I see two guys fighting in a strip mall.
Did you ever see the bathhouse? The bathhouse?
Oh, isn't that a really old one with Fujiwara?
Yeah, that's an old one too.
I remember that one from years ago. I remember seeing it before anybody told me about it. I actually just, for the hell of it, went to Little Tokyo in L.A., rented a few, you know, wrestling tapes from the store, and was really surprised to see Fujiwara fighting through a bathhouse and, you know, seeing a little bit of nudity there, seeing a little, you know, a couple of cute little gals running away.
was it Big Japan that did that one? I don't know if it was Big Japan or IWA where they just destroy a house.
I never saw that.
You never saw that?
I gotta see that.
It starts with this one guy carrying this, you know, the big old stereos that 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 guys used to listen to.
Like a boombox?
Yeah, the boombox, and he's just rocking out to, he's just listening to it, and all of a sudden there's like a bunch of different guys, and they start fighting. I had that tape, and I'm pretty sure I tossed it afterwards because it was bad quality. But
that's awesome.
I'll have to ask my source.
There are some very creative minds in Japan, I must say. And I do want to point out, what steered me to some of this YouTube footage was David Bickenspan, who does the Loser Leave Town podcast. Excuse me. I actually had an Iron Man match with David Bickenspan this past weekend.
You did
He did a podcast where he got me on to talk about the Hall of Fame candidates.
Was this like 3 years in the making? It's like 3 or 4 years. It's 3 or 4 years in the making because it was before I even brought up doing a podcast.
No, I'm talking about just this past weekend.
I know, but I mean, you guys were planning this for like 3 years at least.
For the Hall of Fame podcast?
No, the podcast, period.
Well, I did a podcast with him a little over a year ago.
Oh, you did?
And it failed.
He never put it up, has he?
It failed. No, what happened is we did a whole podcast, and then he emailed me a few minutes later said, the motherfucker didn't record.
Oh, God. You got to go on Blog Talk, probably.
So...
that's the one good thing about Blog Talk. You could just do it on there, and it'll record for you.
I know, isn't it sweet?
Yeah.
For somebody like me who lacks competence. Yeah,
the only negative is that, you have to do it live, and sometimes you never know what could happen during a live show.
Exactly. Well, that's why sometime in the future we might even experiment with, other vehicles.
Yeah, I don't think we will.
Yeah, probably not, but,
I think I'm going to pass on that.
It's nice to know it's always, an option if we want.
If there's instructions with it, let me know.
Anyway, when Buddy Rose died, Bickenspan, proposed doing a podcast to him, but we never did that.
Okay.
Then he proposed the Hall of Fame podcast, and I said, yeah, let's do it. So we started it Saturday. I figured, this will take maybe an hour and a half. Over 2 hours later, we were partially through the list.
Wow.
So we continued it the following day, and it was another, I want to say 2.5 hours.
Well, how many people were you guys talking about?
I lost count. Scores, though. Scores. I mean, you pick 10 people for the Hall of Fame, and then those, at least wrestlers you pick for the Hall of Fame, and then there were non-wrestling entities that you pick for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, my goodness.
So we went through a lengthy list.
I know when, I think I brought this up with you I think probably a year ago or so, and I told you that I kind of wonder who's going to vote for Lucha come in 5 years. Because a lot of the people who vote for Lucha, I'm assuming, don't watch it. I think you and Dr. Lucha are probably the only, Dr. Lucha before you started rewatching.
That's a good question because I honestly don't know who's on the list.
Yeah, I don't know who's on. I don't know who votes or anything, but...
Well, it's different. It's a variety. There's people like me and Dr. Lucha.
Yeah, but the Lucha guys, mainly.
Yeah, Lucha guys, but he also has people active in the industry who vote, though they remain anonymous for obvious reasons. Historians, fans, I mean...
And of all those, how many are Lucha people, though? 5?
I suspect more.
More? Okay.
If there were only 5 people voting Lucha...
You'd be shocked.
Well, I think more luchadores would get voted in to the Hall of Fame.
So the more people there are, the less likely they're voting.
Yeah, because what happens is to get into the Hall of Fame, you have to be on 60% of the ballots of people voting for that sector of pro wrestling.
Okay, so
if there were only 5 of us, I have a feeling a lot more luchadores would have made the grade.
So say some guy who's never watched Lucha, his vote wouldn't count in that part. You know what I mean? If he says this guy sucks, he doesn't belong.
No. That's not. Yeah,
that's not how it works.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
You're I don't want to explain this.
This is too intellectual for me.
You just let Dave figure it out.
Well, here, my suspicion is that there's more than just a few people who have actually watched a degree of Lucha Libre, because in the late 80s, there were quite a few people who were getting turned on pretty hardcore to Lucha Libre.
Oh, okay.
And I have a feeling that there's at least a handful of those who are voting.
Plus, if there's wrestlers, there's got to be new wrestlers coming in every couple
Yeah.
of years. Because, I mean, there's not a lot of guys dying recently.
And you have to remember, like, where you and I are really, we're up on some of the wrestling, but we're behind on a lot of it. But there's a lot of people out there who seem like they devoted a lot of their life to watching wrestling and watch a lot of lucha, watch a lot of American wrestling, watch a lot of Japanese wrestling. I don't know where they find the time. But no, I think a lot of the people voting out there are pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I don't know about all of them, but
So
and then there's people like me who, I vote, but I have to confess, when I see a candidate on the ballot like Wilbur Snyder,
yeah,
you've
never seen him.
I've seen a tape or two of him, but you have to kind of judge on what you can learn about him.
Okay.
Historically.
So you Google search before you vote.
I've done that many times.
Yeah.
And then there's and then there's I'd say the majority of the wrestlers I had a good inkling of whether I thought they fit in or not.
Yeah.
But then there was other subjective calls. For instance, I put John Tolis in.
Uh-huh.
He got my vote, but I think there's a very good chance he'll never get in because he's a regional hero here in Los Angeles. I think he belongs in definitely. But people like in the Mid-Atlantic, even who are pretty knowledgeable, might have little awareness of him or think, well, he is only an LA regional champion, so why does he belong in? Where somebody like me might look at people like the Assassins and say, well, they're kind of like a Mid-Atlantic sensation, like Ole Anderson, and so why do they belong in? So
the Assassins, was it the same guys like towards the end, like in the early 80s?
No, they went through several entities. Actually, they got my vote right away. I was about to vote them in because I really, really loved the entrances they did where they danced to the ring and ran in circles and jumped up and down and rang bells throughout the match. And then I realized I was thinking of the Ding Dong, so I didn't vote them in.
I was like, that sounds like the Ding Dong.
Yeah. So they were almost in, but then I took back my vote after that. I realized I was thinking of somebody different.
How could you vote for them and not the Midnight Express,
I did vote for the Midnight Express.
You got to vote for them. I mean,
of course.
And I'm not saying that just because Jim Cornette owes me my DVD and...
Oh, you're still waiting, are you?
Yeah.
Ah.
But I think it's a 2-week wait, though. So, I don't know.
Yeah. And modern era, where we're so used to things getting done quickly. 2-week wait was always a minimum when you ordered wrestling products. Back in my day when I was young.
But I figure since it's him, it's probably he's busy or something. I'll probably give him another week to bug him about it. So what was I going to ask you? So how long did you guys discuss this after all? Was it more than 2 hours?
Total of the whole thing combined to the two sessions over 4 hours, maybe 4.5 hours, something like that. My mouth was dry after that.
Is he going to put the whole thing up, or is he just going to trim it down to?
I think he's going to post the whole thing in 2 settings. I think he's going to post one in the next few days, and then post the second episode a few days after that. I also started watching something he sent me about a year ago.
The Memphis?
I watched the Memphis, but this was trippy. This was a cartoon. The Harlem Globetrotters meet Snow White.
Oh, God.
Holy shit.
When was this?
1980.
What was it? Was it a cartoon?
It was a cartoon. Actually, when I was a kid in 1972, there was a Saturday morning cartoon of the Harlem Globetrotters.
But I didn't know there was a Harlem Globetrotters meet Snow White.
Neither did I until I got this from Dixie, and I've only watched like the first 10 minutes, but it's already tripping me out. The Harlem Globetrotters are trying to escape the wicked witch who banished Snow White from the land, sent her into exile, and they just happen upon Snow White's house, and so all these giant Harlem Globetrotters are hunched in this tiny house where the 7 dwarfs live. Snow White makes them lunch, and the ultimate line in the 10 minutes I've watched of it is she serves them little, frankfurters.
Uh-huh.
But they're really small frankfurters because she usually has to feed 7 dwarfs. And so the line from one of the Harlem Globetrotters is, "I've never seen such a teeny weeny weenie."
Oh, God. I remember them doing Scooby-Doo a lot. Remember the Scooby-Doo segment, the ones with the Harlem Globetrotters?
Oh, I don't remember that.
You remember that? Like, they would be playing basketball, and all of a sudden, they'd always have a ball with them for some reason. They'd be running away, and there was always a ball with them.
Oh, that's funny. I remember Meadowlark Lemon appearing on the local TBS, not TBS, TBN religious station all the time. He had his own show for a while.
Yeah. Oh, well, getting back to Lucha again. Let's get back to Lucha.
Okay, we're there.
Let's see. Oh, you just saw the. I think we were talking about this earlier, but you just saw the John Strongman Anderson video. What'd you think of him?
He looks like Scott Steiner, but does not move like Scott Steiner. At least what little I've seen of him.
He moves like Gronda, doesn't he?
He moves like Gronda, and it's interesting how the clips they showed of him clotheslining people were so minimal. It's like you could picture them in the studio editing them down, saying, "Okay, how do we make this guy look bitchin' as possible?"
Well, you know what I mentioned on Twitter? I suggested, and I actually found, I should have sent you the YouTube clip. Well, you've seen it. You saw Memphis. I suggested they should do what Memphis used to do with Joe LeDuc. Remember, they'd have him pulling buses,
yes,
cars.
Well, that's the funny thing is, for people who haven't seen this clip of John Strongman, his Strongman, feat is he's in the empty arena. He picks up a row of chairs that are all hooked to each other and throws them
at more chairs.
At more chairs, and all the chairs kind of fall down.
You know what they should have done?
So unglamorous. And yeah, like you're saying, it would look a lot more bitchin' if they had him pulling a bus with a chain or
holding a car, keeping a car from crashing into him with his bare feet. Have you ever seen that clip with Joe LeDuc holding that car?
I remember the Joe LeDuc one. They did it with Mighty Igor. It was a famous Strongman thing they used to do.
Tug of War. Remember Tug of War?
Yes, that would have been bitchin' too.
With 20 minis. There you go. Tug of War versus 20 minis. You know what I when he was throwing the chairs, I thought they should have had they should have zoomed into like some Mexican guy standing by, like, "I ain't picking this shit up." I ain't picking this. So what do you?
Yeah, that was not a very impressive. It would look more impressive if they just had him take off his shirt and flex. The most entertaining moment of that portion is Shocker is cutting a promo in Spanish, and then he turns it over to John Strongman to cut a promo in English, and Shocker says, "It's all yours, John. Take it away." And his voice is so hysterical. It sounds like a dubbed voice in a spaghetti western. I watched it several times just because I found it
English though.
But the
way he said it
was hysterical. That was like it sounded so much like I was picturing Clint Eastwood coming out to have a showdown with him or something.
The what was I going to mention? The other thing was him lifting. The only thing he lifted was Lady Apache with one arm, and then the other time Mascarita Dorada. And I thought, why doesn't he lift up Ray Mendoza Jr. with one arm? That would have been impressive. I would have been like, holy shit, he lifted Ray Mendoza Jr. That would have been impressive.
That would have been sweet. Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
it'll be interesting to see. I'll watch his matches just to see what it looks like. Not because I think it's going to be anything good, just because this should be a kick.
Well, I think the one thing I think there's a possibility it'll work where he's going to be popular like Gronda, where he'll be a draw just because he's a big muscle guy. But then there's a chance that if they let him wrestle like beyond a minute or two, he's going to get exposed, and it's just going to be like that plummeting. It's just going to plummet like the Dow Jones or whatever all of a sudden.
I think you're right, and I think that's probably the idea. I think they're smart enough to know that. I mean, if they booked Gronda and were able to get him over, I think that
they weren't the ones though.
What's that?
That was AAA though. So.
Oh, geez, boy, am I mixing it up.
Yeah, the thing, when they had Gronda, it kind of was, it didn't last that long.
Wait. Gronda
worked AAA, then he jumped the original one.
Now, the reason I'm thinking CMLL is, wasn't it in CMLL where he had that really nasty leg break?
No, he broke it in AAA.
Okay. For some reason I thought that was CMLL.
And then he jumped to CMLL, where he basically, nobody wanted to sell for him or anything.
Gee, wonder why.
And so he didn't last that long. Him and Electroshock didn't last that long, but I mean, I think that's...
Well, then in that case, I take back what I said. I show my ignorance of Gronda's history. And maybe this isn't a good idea.
Well, the only good thing is if he does well in CMLL, he could just, jump immediately to AAA, and maybe they could do something with him. Because I think he has a better shot of making it in AAA than in... Yeah,
he seems more geared for something like AAA.
AAA is the type of promotion where they'll do you've seen Cybernetico matches. Basically, it's everybody running in and doing all this other stuff, and he's basically, then it's, then it just goes back to him doing the finish or whatever. Have you ever seen that guy Conan Big?
I've never seen Conan Big, no.
He's a Monterey guy, and he does a gimmick where he wrestles a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
And the celebrity comes in with 6-7 wrestlers and maybe a bunch of other guys who show up with them. And it's basically all these guys taking bumps off of Conan Big. And I think that's what they do with those guys. I mean, and it works. It works because the guys who do the crazy bumps, they'll do something really nuts. And
yeah, well, it's funny. I'm not a big fan of the big strong man who cannot work, but at the same time, I have admiration for a booker who can get the gimmick over.
Yeah,
I mean, not just anybody can do it.
Plus, I haven't seen him wrestle though, so it's one thing to we've seen him. We've seen him throw people around. We haven't seen him actually wrestle.
Well, that's why I'm dubious because, like I said, they showed clips of him clotheslining somebody.
Uh-huh.
So they must have had clips of entire matches of his. And if he looked at all impressive, I think they would have showed more clips of him power slamming guys. A little of the vintage Scott Steiner type action.
Yeah.
And I only say that just because he has this uncanny resemblance to Scott Steiner.
Yeah, he actually does. I mean, well, you could. I would have gone Scott Steiner though.
He'd be.
Just because Scott Steiner says some crazy shit during his.
Yeah. Even though I'm certain that Scott Steiner's making a hell of a lot more in TNA than he ever would in CMLL.
Yeah. But could you imagine, Shocker, take it away, Scott?
I love that. I watched that several times.
No, but
it looked like something that was dubbed in. It was beautiful.
But the guy didn't really have a good promo. Could you imagine if it was Scott Steiner, Shocker just would have been like, "Oh crap, did I just say take it away to Scott Steiner?" And Scott Steiner would have been like, "You bitches."
Yeah, I almost wonder why they even had the guy cut a promo. Why didn't they have just Shocker just sit there and hype the guy up
scream? You know what you said, rip his shirt off and scream, and that's it.
Yeah, just make it look like you have this kind of mindless monster here with you and have somebody else speak for him.
Why does everybody have to talk nowadays,
You know what? I think too many interviews actually kills the mystique of the wrestler.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, one of the things I remember is, of course, they did interviews. Interviews were a huge part of pro wrestling, but they interviewed some wrestlers more than they did others. And when I would see a wrestler get in the ring, work his gimmick, do his match, I would be eager to hear him cut an interview, but they didn't interview him every week. And every week when I tuned in, I was hoping to know a little bit more about this wrestler. They kept me chomping at the bit, thirsting for more information. But if they just handed him the microphone every week and he cut a raw-type promo, I'd say, oh, okay, that's what he's all about. Well, let's move on. Next wrestler. But I think less is more.
Yeah, and that's what I think kind of screwed up Strongman's debut video promo or whatever. He shouldn't have said it. They should have just had him go and throw those chairs, and that would have been it. And him lifting of him lifting stuff. But that, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree completely. I thought that was a really weak promo.
And the only good thing I can say about CMLL right now is that they've been debuting a lot of new talent the last couple of weeks. So
in fact, you mentioned that you've been actually getting the opportunity to check out a lot of CMLL.
Yeah, and the one thing I could say about CMLL is that they have a lot of talent.
Yeah.
But it's like, for some reason, some of the shows, they don't, it doesn't come across as entertaining as it should. Like the one show on the Cadena 3 show, that's it's not the Galavision show. They have two shows. They have two main shows now. The Galavision airs the Friday show, and Cadena 3 shows the Tuesday shows. The Tuesday show looks actually pretty good because they actually have like this good-looking woman interviewing the luchadors.
Yes.
She seems into it. And then the Galavision show, it's like all this stuff where they're like showing like shilling more stuff. They have like this contest where everybody seems to know everything about every single wrestler. And I mean, it kind of seems like they're shortening the matches. It seems really rushed.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and the Cadena 3 show looks really good. And Fox Sports Español just screws up their show for some reason. I don't know what the hell that was.
That's too bad. Yeah, because I agree. What I have seen in recent months of CMLL, I mean, the wrestling talent just seems really top notch. I'm curious. Of course, you know, the majority of what I have seen
is Negro Casas.
Negro Casas, Mystico.
Negro Casas and Mystico.
And everybody involved with their feud. So I've seen, you know, like Volador Jr., I've seen a lot of Mr. Niebla Celino.
And La Sombra.
Yes, La Sombra, who I really enjoy. What little I've seen of him.
Wait, you always ignore him. For some reason, you always ignore him. You always mention Negro Casas, Mystico, but you always ignore Sombra.
Well, because the focus is on Negro Casas and Mystico.
Well, you know, the thing I noticed with that group, Sombra, Mystico, and Volador Jr., that would make a great trio in Dragon Gate.
Oh, that would be cool.
I think they would actually work in Dragon Gate.
That would work.
I mean,
those would make some bitchin' matches with the Dragon Gate boys.
Yeah, I mean, I think CMLL should work with Dragon Gate more than with New Japan. I mean, the New Japan guys, don't get me wrong, they're not that bad, but I mean, they're really, like, they just lack something. Whereas the Dragon Gate guys just have this different look to them.
They do have a different look. Well, it's hard to say why they would work with one company opposed to another.
Yeah.
What was I going to... Oh, I was going to ask you, you know, as I said, you know, I'm kind of focused on the La Peste Negra and all, you know, Negro Casas, Mystico.
Uh-huh.
Wrestlers out of that group, you know, away from that group in CMLL, who are some of the up-and-comers that you're impressed with?
Well, obviously Valiente, Virus, you know, it's the same group of guys. Sangre Azteca, you haven't seen the Poder Mexica, have you?
I'm sorry?
Poder Mexica, have you seen
No, I have not.
It's Sangre Azteca, Dragon Rojo Jr., and Black Warrior. That's a good trio. They're a few.
Very good. I like Sangre Azteca, what I've seen of him.
Yeah, and you've obviously seen Black Warrior, too. So.
Yes, I have.
And Dragon Rojo Jr., when they do their entrances, because their Poder Mexica is basically, you know, they're doing the Aztec type of thing, he comes in with one of those, like, I don't know what they're called, but the Indians use it to, like, shake. They shake it. It's like one of those shakers type of things. I don't know, but it's like a war dance looking thing when he comes to the ring.
I know what you're talking about, and I don't know the proper term for it either.
Yeah, it's like a maraca, you know, or whatever that thing is.
Yes, my illiteracy reigns here tonight.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a really good group. They've been working a lot with, I guess Black Warrior is going to have a match with Yujiro, and I guess Shocker's working with the other Japanese guy.
Sweet. Yeah. Very good.
One of them's working with one Japanese guy, and the other one's working with the other Japanese guy. Hair matches. And there's Ray Cometa and Pegaso. I think you might have seen them on.
I've heard, I've seen Ray Cometa. I know I've seen Picasso, but I can't recall anything about him, really.
Wouldn't it be because they call him Picasso? Picasso
I like
Picasso.
that.
Picasso, I mean, seriously. You know, they're giving, this Friday, they're giving another guy a tryout, named Turbo. I don't know if you've seen him.
I've not seen Turbo.
He's worked Chikara. He worked IWRG. He's probably on one of the IWRG DVDs that you got from me.
Okay, I have so many of those, and I still have only seen just a small portion of them.
Yeah, well, that guy is really good. I actually think they should put him in with Pegaso and Ray Cometa. That would be a good trio. But obviously, he needs to impress people in the tryout. Well, they're bringing in a lot of guys. They brought in a guy named Roche.
Roche? R-O-S-H?
No, it's R-O-U-G-E. but they pronounce it Roche. I don't know if you heard. Have you heard Dr. Lucha's podcast?
I have not heard today's podcast yet.
Well, he at the end of the show, and this is where we're going to disagree. He at the end of the show, Brian Alvarez asked him who he was impressed with, and he mentioned Roche, and of course he brought up how the guy needs to change his name, but I've seen him as Latino.
I think it's a great name.
Yeah, I don't get it. Is it Roche or is it supposed to be Rogue? Because I thought it was Rogue. And they're just mispronouncing it as
I
Roche.
say they call it Roche and have him have a tag team partner called Tosh.
There you go.
That would be great.
Well,
and then they could wrestle Picasso at the anniversary show.
Yeah, they actually have this other guy named Metro, and they've done like that gimmick. Like, I think it's a company that sponsors CMLL called Metro. I have no idea what that is, what the company is, but sounds very Vogue, though. Yeah, I mean, and they had this wrestler called Metro a couple of years ago, or like a year ago. The guy sucked. So I've been watching a lot of the recent stuff, and the guy that they have now isn't half bad. I was actually surprised that he's not as bad as the previous one. Well, as soon as I have access, I want to get caught up in CMLL. I know I've said that for several weeks now. You know, the other name I have to bring up, As? Remember As? Who? As or As? Oh, yeah. Spanish for Ace, right? Yeah, Ace. There's one called Ace Jr., As Jr. Don't you think that they really should change that name, shouldn't they? I mean... Unless they want to have him team with Mascara Ano Dos Mil. I just checked up. I mean, you don't think, like, in today's age, of the internet age, where even Mexicans now have access to all this stuff, you would think they would have figured this out a little sooner. I think, yeah. I just think that's a bad name. It is not a very good name. Very simplistic, too, I must say. I have to bring up something non-Lucha. Yeah. I brought up. Yeah, well, it's not non-Lucha because this guy's pretty much Lucha himself. You remember that guy Ebison, right? I remember Ebison very well. I remember my favorite thing about Ebison is his beautiful Stan Hansen impersonation. Well, you remember him going back to when he was Ebison. He changed his name a couple of years ago to Kikutaro. Yeah, so you were telling me that. Yeah, because you were like, who's Kikutaro? Yeah, I just remember Ebison. I've actually seen him as Kikutaro, but I thought, there's Ebison. Yeah, well, he debuted a couple of new gimmicks on I guess the last couple of months. He did a Don Fry gimmick, where it's Don Kiku Fry. Yeah. Where I think it was a tag match, and he worked against Takayama. Mm-hmm. And his whole offense is basically, he just copied what Don Fry used to do, where he would punch. So he just oh my God! But the best one he did recently, the Nasawa every couple. Remember Nasawa, right? Yes, I do. Nasawa does a show called Bombayi every couple. I guess it's an annual. Yes, I've heard of that. He did a show where where they had the Crush Gals versus Bull. They did I guess it's an ode to the Crush Gals, Bull Nakano, Dump Matsumoto feud of the 80s. I remember that feud. That was when I first started watching. No, not when I first started watching All Japan Women Wrestling, but I think about 2 years into it or so. Yeah, because that was like a big thing. Well, Kikutaro does Dump Kiku. He says, I'm gonna upload it. Probably later today I'll start uploading it. Yes, I want to see that. I'd love to post it on my page because everything I've seen of Ebison is that guy is flawless. I mean, he just doesn't imitate the wrestlers. He gets their most minimal mannerisms down. Everything from Stan Hansen's war cry to every just little way he carries himself. I mean, this guy is more than just campy and funny. He really puts a lot into his portrayal of all the classic wrestlers. So just imagine him trying to be Dump Matsumoto. And that sounds wonderful. That's something I must see. And his teammate, I think you might have seen. Do you remember? Did I show you that one show where they did the slow-mo? No. One of the DDT shows. You didn't watch that one? No, I don't think I saw that one. Yeah, well, I think you might have seen him. You could look for him because he works for DDT. This guy, Muscle Sakai. He does. He's Bull Sakai. So he actually got a haircut, a mohawk, looking like Bull Nakano. He actually, and they dressed like them. They did the whole thing. But the Crush gals, now who do you think did the Crush gals?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Minoru Suzuki did Chigusa Nagayo.
Yeah.
And Yoshihiro Takayama did Jaguar Yokota.
Really?
Yeah.
This I gotta see. This I must see.
It's a fun show because they actually brought in. They even did the heel ref. Remember the heel ref that they used to have? They did the whole work, and then it was just a good show. The whole show is really good.
Oh, just talking about this has me nostalgic for the old All Japan Women days.
Oh yeah, that's the only women's wrestling I really enjoy. Like I can't really.
Oh, same here. That was like the pinnacle of women's wrestling.
Other than Fabio Paci, anything Fabio Paci I'll watch.
She is a doll. She is still cute as a button, I do believe.
Oh, we should get to our email question.
Okay, what's the email question? And I'm just getting ready because I bet you I don't know the answer.
Okay, the first part of the question is, if you were to book the Antonio Peña Memorial Show, how would you do it? You're like, I don't even know who's in AAA.
That's something I would have to put a lot of thought into.
Yeah.
I think one thing you and I have in common, Fredo, is when we grew up, we would sit up by ourselves in our bedroom and play Booker. We would dream up the wrestling cards I
think you remember we were talking about Eddie Gilbert, and I told you one of the things, because you brought it up when I mentioned how I used to have a notebook, and I would write down all the matches and everything. And then you said you did the same thing, and then you said Eddie Gilbert and all these other guys did the same exact thing.
Did I say Eddie Gilbert?
I don't know. You mentioned somebody like that used to bring it, or you mentioned somebody brought it.
I'm trying to think, because I remember, I used to have a little notebook, and I actually, when I was a little kid, I used to actually think up characters. I wouldn't actually think up active wrestlers that I would book on a show. Uh-huh. I would think up personas and where I would go with an angle. And, you know who I think I was telling you about who did that? I don't know if he did it with a notebook or stuff like that, but Tom Burke did. The wrestling historian and the guy who's, friends with a lot of wrestlers like Killer Kowalski and Chris Colt. I thought I was the only person in the world who did that. And after I knew Tom Burke for like about 2 years, he confessed that he did that too. And then over the years, I met a number of other people who were actually in the business. I don't know how many of them would want me to say that they did that, but I know it wouldn't bug Tom Burke at all. So
same name. Let's bring up the name. Who did it? Well, you could tell who did it because they end up doing booking at some point.
Yeah, and Eddie Gilbert grew up in the business, and I think he's one of these guys who had a very active imagination, which you really need if you're a booker. And he saw from the day he could walk what gets over and what doesn't. And plus, he was just a really great wrestling mind.
We should actually write up what each one of us would do for the Antonio Peña Memorial. When is it? Like in early October?
Yeah, we'd have to think about that.
I could write one. I could write something up by the next show.
Yeah. Well, if to the person who wrote that
email, my idea.
What's that?
They'll steal my ideas, and I'll be upset.
And then we can further the feud we talked about with Dr. Lucha the other week.
Oh, there you go. We can keep fighting with Dr. Lucha over it.
Well, what was I going to say?
About Antonio Peña Memorial Show?
Yeah, I'd actually have to put thought into that because that's something I wouldn't just want to blurt out because it would be rambling, nonsensical. And if you look on StanTheEmbryo.com and see the way I translate the Ultimate Fighting Championship, I'd actually love to book for them, but I don't think they'd want anything to do with a booker like me, especially because I'd want to work all the finishes.
Plus you have to do
I got to put some thought into that because that would be kind of fun.
Well, actually, you just have to do one thing. You do have to do is just a tournament.
A tournament, and we do have to work Peña's ashes into it, like they have done before.
Oh, seriously, winner gets Peña's ashes.
And you have to think of something really creative to do with the ashes.
Can't do that again, though.
Yeah, you'd have to do some Peña's ghost. I don't know. Yeah. They did the ashes. The Peña ghost would actually be in good taste.
Okay, the second part of the question is, if you could book the Fabi Apache Billy Boy feud, how would it continue?
It wouldn't.
Yeah, I think it's done.
It's just it just ran its course. I would just.
I mean, I seriously, I have followed that feud. I have followed that feud going back to like when it first started, and I think a year ago I said there was still a lot more you could do, but they didn't do certain things that I thought they could have done, like the tagging of Billy Boy and Gran Apache.
Yeah, it reminds me of the last 2 seasons of The Sopranos. It was almost like they didn't know where to take the story anymore, and I think what do we do now? Oh, let's have Tony get shot. Let's have him go into a dream sequence. Where do we take it from here?
And I think that's what they're doing with Fabi, because Fabi was jumped by Conan's women.
Yes, and they have something much more fascinating with Pimpinela and Gato. They should just keep running with that.
I think they're already switching over for Fabi. But Billy Boy, I mean, I think he kind of got screwed by the whole coke incident. I'm serious. I think he's pretty much screwed out of that.
Yeah, they should just move on, come up with something else.
The downfall for Billy Boy is that he's actually, there really isn't much for it, because obviously they're not going to push him now.
No, and well, that's just a matter of who's running the show. I mean, if it doesn't matter where they took the storyline. If they didn't want to push him in the future, they wouldn't push him in the future, no matter how fresh or how stale the angle is. It just, I haven't even seen it as long as you have, and I'm already burnt out on it.
Well, see, I've already seen the whole thing. I mean, there really isn't more they could do. I mean, you can't reunite them because they basically, I think what they could do at some point is, like in a year down the line, they could always reunite them, but right now they just need to give everybody a break from that whole angle.
I agree.
They've already
done it. Take a rest.
I mean, because I guess Billy was the one that lost his hair, didn't he? Yeah. Yeah, he did, because they did a video. Did you see that video?
No, I haven't.
AAA created a YouTube page.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to put the post-match, post-angle with Billy Boy, and all it is him standing around with his head shaved.
Wow, they might as well had him hanging out with John Strongman.
They should have just had him talk or cut a promo or something. I think what they're going to have to do is, I think they need to do the Pimpinela Gato Eveready, but that one, I think that one's probably going to end at some point.
Yeah, they should wind that one up pretty soon, but no, I think they should team them and have them be a couple and just have them.
Yeah, see, that's
have them be a couple for a long, long time and have them eventually split up once that gets old. It's such a fresh idea.
See, that's the one thing I like about people jumping from one promotion to the other, because you get fresh new characters and.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and then you just hope they stay with that company for a while.
And I think AAA kind of jumped the gun with Corleone and Wagner showing up at the same time, because now they don't really have a lot. For some reason. True, cramming
a lot into one thing, or into one short pocket at a time.
Yeah. And finally, the final question is, what are your favorite Lucha movies?
My absolute favorite Lucha movie, and I recommend everybody get a copy of this. I believe it was either 1953 or 1956, La Ultima Lucha, which stars Wolf Ruvinskis, Cavernario Galindo. This is a great wrestling movie. It's not just a campy movie. It's shot wonderfully. My sister-in-law was somebody who studies screenwriting and is a cinema buff, and I was showing her the action sequences from this movie involving Rito Romero and Cavernario Galindo, and she actually asked me to show her those sequences several times because she loved the way it was shot.
Wow.
And this is somebody who is not into wrestling one iota. And the wrestlers' performance in this movie, they were great. I don't know how much credit goes to the wrestlers, how much to the director. Cavernario Galindo, it was about the only movie I've ever seen where he just doesn't play, where he plays something other than El Santo's opponent or a zombie. He actually had some lines in the movie. He delivered them well. And I've never seen wrestling sequences shot so well. Not just the wrestling itself, but the fan footage. It wasn't like some of those Santo and Blue Demon movies where
it's just a bunch of campy moments and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Or in some of those Santo Blue Demon movies, you'll see the arena partially full, and they try to darken out the rest of the arena. They actually had small arenas in this film that were filled with fans, and this is a movie every Lucha fan actually every wrestling fan should see. Yeah. Even if you don't speak Spanish, it's really easy to follow the plot. The performances are great. Wolf Ruvinskis is great in this movie. He was really, no, I don't want to say he's underrated as an actor, but I think a lot of wrestling fans, even Lucha fans, don't realize what a good actor this guy was.
Oh, yeah, he did a soap like in the early 80s and that I remember just watching.
Really?
Yeah, because it was one of those soaps that my parents would watch. And I remember seeing him, and I didn't know he was a wrestler, and I was like, who is that guy? Because he looked like one of those respectable, one of those big-time actors, and I thought, man, who is that guy? He looks really cool. And
he did. Yeah, and I guess he did a lot of stage work, too. I guess he played the lead in Streetcar Named Desire in Mexico.
And you have to love a guy who does a debate on Lucha Libre being, you remember that whole old debate and Contrapunto? I
never saw that.
You never saw it?
No, I never saw that. I'd love to see it.
I think I have it copied, and I'll get you a copy of it. He basically defended wrestling as all four things, because it was circo, maroma, teatro, deporte, which is circus, theater.
Yes, and I remember I heard about the show and I heard about his role in it. Never seen it, but I'd love to.
He defended wrestling as theater by using Cardigan's ghost angle. You know the story of that match?
Yes.
Infamous versus the Invisible Man, wasn't it? Cardigan versus the Invisible Man.
Cardigan versus the Invisible Man, which I wish I had seen. People in back east, when Titanes en el Ring aired in New York in the mid-1970s, they aired The Invisible Man. Wow. And what I was told The Invisible Man consisted of was you'd see this pair of spectacles floating toward the ring to make it look like there was an invisible man, and wrestlers would lock up and take bumps for an invisible man.
How did they do the spectacles?
I have no idea. Everybody, people either loved it or hated it.
Yeah.
The funniest comment I ever heard about that was Dr. Jerry Graham. I don't know if he ever met Martin Cardigan when Cardigan was back in New York, because I know they were in that region in the same time, but Dr. Jerry Graham hated Cardigan. He always referred to him as the mighty Cardigan.
Did he actually know him? Or?
What's that?
Did he know him, or was it just...
He never said he met him, but they were back east around the same time.
Oh, okay.
And if they did meet, it wasn't a favorable impression, because you couldn't say anything about Cardigan without Dr. Jerry Graham going into a rampage, going into not a rampage, but a rant. But the funniest thing he said is, he killed the business in Argentina. And I'm thinking to myself, killed the business? No, he made the business in Argentina. Yeah. And I'm saying, how so, Doc? And he said, he put over the Invisible Man. And what I loved is, okay, so the business died because he put over the Invisible Man. However, had the Invisible Man jobbed, that would be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that always just cracked me up. It's okay to use it as a gimmick. Just don't put him over. It'll lose credibility.
It's something Memphis would have done, DDT. There's so many promotions.
Oh, there's so many promotions that would do it. And, it's so funny because I hear so many fans rave about the old days of wrestling, and they have a selective memory when they talk about how realistic it used to be. I mean, I'm sure there were some very tough wrestlers. I would not want to mess with Lou Thesz when he was on... when he was very ill in his last days. I would not mess with Danny Hodge today. But, come on, it was never realistic.
Kurt, we have a caller on now.
Who do we have?
I can't believe he would really say that this wasn't realistic. Man, when I was a kid, the Assassins, the Masked Medics, the professional Mr. Wrestling 2, that whole Georgia circuit was nothing but real wrestling.
That's right. I used to grab people by the wrist and fling them into a fence, and they would magically bounce off, and then I would hurl them over my head. It worked in every playground fight I was on.
You realize when you stand behind somebody and put one arm against one side of their head and one the other, they always fall asleep, right?
Yes, that happens. It takes about 5 minutes, though, yeah.
And when you actually have them bending halfway over and you knee them in the top of their forehead, they always get knocked out?
Yes. And whenever you have a wrist lock on somebody and you tell the referee, hey, he's pulling my hair, the referee will just, like a dog, run in back of you to look.
Especially if it's Leo Garibaldi.
Yes. Dr. Lucha, how are you doing tonight?
That's when things are real. I mean, in real fights, do you ever see anybody actually, like, punt somebody? No, they put them in sleeper holds, and they knee them in the forehead.
Exactly. Not like that phony Ultimate Fighting Championship whenever they put the sleeper hold, the guy goes right out. That would not happen in real life. They're only going right out because they've blown up and they want to go home.
It was real back then, despite what Fredo says. It was real.
That's right. And, you know, the masked wrestlers wore the mask everywhere they went, even when they went to sleep.
Dr. Lucha, you didn't bring up John Strongman on Brian Alvarez's show.
I tried to bring up Rouge, too. I hope that got over really big.
Did you hear our suggestion for his tag team partner?
No.
We want him to have a tag team partner called Touge. Rouge and Touge.
Is this supposed to be Rouge or Rogue?
I saw it on TV last week. It's Rouge.
Yeah,
and I keep waiting for them to put him together with La Mascara so you could have Rouge and Mascara in the same match.
There you go.
There you go. I love it. See, Dr. Lucha should be booking.
You know the best thing about that was you trying to tell us how good he is.
Well, and I've got to tell you, I re-looked at that Jenna versus Charmel match, and I think it's not been given enough credit. I'm going to have to give it a 1.5 stars.
Is that on YouTube already? The Jenna?
I don't know about the Jenna and Charmel match, but Rouge should be on YouTube now. And
wait, the Jenna and Charmel, is that the famous TNA match that was -5 stars?
Well, I kind of, they tried real hard.
I
have to see that. I still haven't seen that. I have so much catching up to do.
I think we just figured out Dr. Lucha is the nicest and easiest star rater.
I want him to watch all my matches now, all of them.
Actually, way back in 1991 I guess it was 91, in Rochester, Minnesota. No, in St. Paul, Minnesota, at the same card where Larry Zbyszko won the AWA World title from Masa Saito. I was there, and they had the opening match. For the life of me, I forget who was in it, and that was the worst professional wrestling match I've ever seen.
Oh, man, now I'm curious who it was.
Was it worse than Jenna Maraska's match?
Oh, no, it was literally the most business-exposing match I had ever seen.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. It was followed by DJ Peterson against Johnny Stewart, which if you're from the Midwest, you would know those names.
Yeah,
and
I hate them.
They looked like Flair and Steamboat following.
Oh, God. DJ Peterson, I mean, that's really...
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, God.
Time travel. You know what?
So,
we have Dr.
I called in right at the start of the show, right? We got a full hour of good talk ahead of us, right?
Yeah, we got one more hour to go.
In fact, I was just about to suggest, Fredo, I don't know about you, but since we have Dr. Lucha, should we go a little bit over time this?
Yeah, we could go over time. That's fine.
Let's make an exception because Dr. Lucha, it is so bitchin'. Every time you are on, you're quite amused for me because I've been rambling and Fredo's been great this show, but I've been stumbling over my words and you come on and I'm like, yeah, this is bitchin'.
The reason I wanted to call so much was I wanted to take credit, the three of us, for single-handedly, because it really is awkward or amazingly timed. We have single-handedly spawned a high-level academic resurgence of interest in zombies. Since this podcast started, as you can see at Stan the Embryo, there are, in some of the comment sections, there are several high-level academic articles about the resurgence of zombies, and including one which has a mathematical formula that I'm still trying to get up to the website that will explain why the zombie invasion can never be defeated.
Oh, that is awesome.
Mathematically. So we three personally are responsible for the resurgence of zombie love that's going on in America right now.
We are officially a trio now.
We have
a trio to be reckoned with.
Kurt, did you write that up on for the Brian Alvarez when you were writing up the comments? Remember when you were sending him the information for the podcast?
Yes, I did.
You mentioned
did
zombies?
I mention wait? I'm trying to remember if I mentioned zombies on that one.
Because I didn't see anything about zombies on his little write-up.
No, I don't think he mentioned it. There were several things that I mentioned that we went over on the show that that was not mentioned. It was mainly focused on Dr. Lucha, because when you have Dr. Lucha on the show.
But these are wild stuff. I mean, this is Foreign Policy Magazine, Reason Magazine, the New York Times, and at least one other. And it's all, I've got the links. You just click on the links and you can go to them. And these are these high-level academic magazines, or semi.
And this is the pinnacle of our careers, gentlemen.
And they're all now focused on the zombie resurgence.
That is so cool.
Now we just have to have them focus on some other stuff like Lucha and...
Well, now once you see Strongman John in the ring, I think you'll have another... Yep, he's a zombie, all right.
Have you seen him wrestle?
I know he has many matches on YouTube from his independent days, but I have not seen him wrestle. I don't think wrestling is actually the thing that's going to get him over in Mexico anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if anything will get him over, judging from the promo he did with Shocker on Barcelona.
I should say, lifting Ray Mendoza with one arm will be the most impressive thing he can do.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, this is going to be fascinating. I mean, it's weird. I'm actually looking forward to seeing his matches just to see what happens.
I think they better warn him about climbing the top rope, though. You don't want to see a Gronda injury.
Well, I have seen, if you guys remember this, there was a documentary that the BBC made on Fry Tormenta back in the late 80s, maybe 1990 at the latest, and they actually filmed one match out from a card in Arena Mexico that he was in, and of course, EMLL at the time put him in on the babyface side in a 6-man tag, and on the other side were Negro Casas,
yes.
Blue Panther, and Fuerza Guerrera, like the three best possible workers you could possibly have at the time to make Fry Tormenta look good for the documentary they were filming. And they did. They made him look good.
Yes, he could hardly move, and though I love the way Casas sold for him after they beat him down and when they made the comeback, and Casas dropped to his knees in prayer penitence to Fray Tormenta. That was sweet.
John Strongman versus Peste Negra will be the...
Oh, that would be cool.
That'll probably...
And then, of course, it would be followed up by John Strongman versus Stalker Ichikawa, and I finally got to see the Stalker Ichikawa versus Abdullah the Butcher match.
Oh, you guys haven't brought that up on the podcast yet?
We brought it up. Fredo had seen it, but I did not see that match until today.
Last week. Didn't we bring it up last week?
I think it was the week before, wasn't it?
Oh, it was mentioned, but so everybody has now seen it, right?
Yeah, Kurt has seen it.
Now, you were not kidding, Fredo, when you said he does not look scary anymore. Abdullah the Butcher now looks like your friendly uncle who's been in one too many gardening accidents.
Yeah, don't you just miss the good old days when he looked scary and...
Yeah, he looks so... the one thing that was really adorable in that match is after he threw that first elbow drop, and it looked like he was very tentative in doing so, like, oh, do I still have it in me? But after he did it, he delivered another one, but he took his sweet time doing it because he was just sitting there drinking in the crowd's love for him. I mean, you could tell he was having a ball. That was sweet.
Okay.
And I bet it's no fun for Stalker on the bottom taking that, because I bet Abdullah has no way to protect anybody as he falls.
Oh, man.
He's got the big old man boobs going for him. So
that is amazing. I know he has like upper level love handles is what I call them.
You know what I was waiting for? I was waiting for them to like do because you know how you could stick quarters in his forehead, right?
Yes. That used to be a joke he would do in the dressing rooms. Apparently,
but
he would.
You think it would have been funny if he would have passed out some quarters to kids and have them just.
That would have been great. I always thought he would be great at a charity event because sticking quarters in the forehead, you could kind of, have people stick the quarters in there for Jerry's kids, like they have those little deposits in restaurants where you slip the quarter in.
Apparently, he's not really good at the conventions and all that stuff. So.
Really, does he not just into them?
I don't know. They say he seems a little like not into it. Like.
Yeah, the impression I get is he's almost like he's agoraphobic. He doesn't like crowds.
Yeah.
Interesting.
and he just clams up and sits there. I know people like that are perfectly gregarious, 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, but you get them in front of 40 strangers, and they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
One of the things he was famous for early in his career was he got arrested trying to help Dr. Jerry Graham smuggle Dr. Jerry Graham's sons over the Canadian border.
Oh, God.
He was trying to get him back from his ex-wife, and I can't remember if it was his son Mike or John, as an adult. He said one of his earliest memories.
Mike was the one with the oil money, right?
Jerry was the one with the oil money.
Well, I mean, Mike was the one that had the check sent to him and then got it to Jerry at the end, right?
I'm not aware of that.
Oh, okay. I thought one of the sons at the end was like the conduit, and I thought it was Mike in the last 4 or 5 years that.
The last 4 or 5 years. Actually, that was Tom.
Oh, Tom.
Wait. Actually, let me rephrase. It was either Mike or Tom. If that's the case, it was the last 4 or 5 years of his life, because he had his son Jim, he had Mike, his son. He had a lot of sons.
Because he's trying to figure out, well, how about the ones that he didn't have? Like
the ones I knew were Jack and Mike.
Oh, okay.
And I remember you telling me vaguely something about that when the crew of us went up to Burbank and went to grab him to get some pizza. I thought it was Mike you referred to that had a finger in the pie to make sure that Jerry would actually get the money. Because he was so out of it by that point of time that he wouldn't regularly go pick up his checks or get them cashed.
Okay, I'm a little vague on that particular memory. What I remember about his oil money is the oil money happened when I very first met the doc in 1981.
Yeah.
And it was later that year when I guess some guy who was dressed, rather nicely was knocking at his hotel door room, and he said the first thing he thought was, oh shit, the IRS finally found me. But what had happened was some property that his father owned that he thought was worthless, they ended up striking oil on, so he was getting, he leased it to them and was getting a pretty penny for a while, and he told us what he planned to do with the money was start knocking off all the wrestling promoters who did him wrong. But
that was a long list, right?
That was a long list. In fact, if anybody's heard that clip, maybe I should put that clip on my Stan the Embryo page. I have it on one of my MySpace pages where you hear him saying, when I get that fucking money, there's going to be a fucking payday somewhere.
Was that the interview with Tom Burke?
No, that was actually with me. That was in a hotel room at Buck Owens Hotel in Bakersfield, California.
Bakersfield, yeah.
Yeah, what happened was the doc wanted to find some hookers, and he always told us how the supreme hookers were at Buck Owens Hotel, or motel, I should say. And we thought this was one of Dr. Jerry Graham's urban legends, but it winds up that the prostitutes walked out in the open at Buck Owens's place, unmolested by police, and Doc wanted to say, let's get a hotel room and we'll get ourselves a whore. And we didn't get a whore, but what we did is we drank and smoked weed, and what my friend Lloyd and I did was we said, we have a tape recorder here, let's just turn it on. So we just let it record, and we have several hours of Doc telling us, old war stories. The sound quality's terrible, but just that we have tape of Doc letting out his patented war cry. And there was one part where we didn't get the whole tale, but he talked about somebody raping the Sheik, talking about how bitchin' the Vikings were. Just it's great to have some Dr. Jerry Graham on tape.
That is a great story. So,
but yeah, Doc was actually getting oil money, and I can't remember the situation with his son, but it was when we went to visit him. So that was in '91. So most likely it was Mike he was in touch with. So not as in Mike Gossett, who was Eddie Graham's son, but Dr. Jerry Graham had a Mike.
Well, so I have I know it's nearly time to wrap up, and I've interrupted the flow of the podcast and stuff, but I wondered, are either of you guys interested in doing a anniversary show preview in the next couple of podcasts?
I would love that.
We would love to do it.
That would be great. You would join us for that?
I would join you from the start.
Oh, that would be bitchin'. Let's do that. I would love to do that.
We can start promoting it now.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's start hyping it. Well, let's
try and explain to anybody who might listen or might download the podcast why this is going to be out of their way to find out what happened, and then when it comes on YouTube or Mega Upload or whatever, that people can download it and watch the matches.
Yeah, let's do that, definitely. I would really enjoy that.
Is it going to be on pay-per-view, or is it going to be TV?
According to their own website, it's going to be on regular TV, and it will air the next day.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's sweet.
According to their website. Now, we will see if Televisa needs, programming that night for its cable channel, or if they decide, as they have in the past, at the last minute to throw it on pay-per-view, they might. But eventually, we have seen every match that CMLL has ever put on pay-per-view, so we'll see it.
Yeah,
that's excellent. I'm really looking forward to this pay-per-view. I'm really looking forward to the Negro Casas versus Mystico. It has not gotten stale for me yet.
And Kurt,
it sounds like it hasn't gotten stale for anybody watching it.
And hopefully Kurt will watch the rest of the show, not just the Mystico Negro Casas match.
I plan to. In fact, since I have you,
the women live
on the air, Fredo, can I come by your place and get some CML DVDs from you?
Sure.
You rock. You rock.
As soon as I finish them. Taking forever.
Oh man, I'm chomping at the bit for some good rap.
Are those the kinds you can get at slambamjam.com?
There you go. Yeah.
Slambamjam.com, ladies and gentlemen, greatest website ever known to wrestling.
Plus, Kurt actually watched Barcelona off the website, right, Kurt?
Yes, I did. And my favorite line was Shocker saying in English, "It's all yours, John. Take it away."
The announcer actually spoke pidgin English, even though the announcer could actually speak really good English.
Which one is that?
The Spanish, Leonardo Riaño, who was interviewing Strongman John, actually speaks really good English, but I don't know why he was speaking pidgin English. Sometimes, I know when I was in, Kurt can testify to this, when you're in Japan for a while, your English starts to revert to pidgin English because that's how people in Japan speak English to you.
It does. It's so true. Or have you ever known somebody who took a long vacation to England and actually come with a bit of Cockney in them?
Oh, God.
A bit of, before we go, I'm not going to talk too long about this because I really want to save this for next week because I want to put some real time into this. But I know I emailed both of you about this, but have either of you guys seen that trailer for the 1969 flick, The Wonderful Land of Oz?
You know what, Kurt? I actually saw that a long time ago.
The trailer?
I have not.
Yeah, the trailer I had seen. When I went to your website, I was like, oh my God, Kurt just found this? I think you might have posted it on your website, though, earlier.
I did once earlier, but what's happening is I'm finally getting a copy of that film, along with another film by this cat named Barry Mahone, who was a member of the Royal Air Force in World War II and was a prisoner of war, but went on to make all these. He made such a weird variety of movies. He started off with a movie called Rocket Attack USA, and then he made a bunch of movies like The Adventures of Busty Brown, Music to Strip By, Hot Skin Cold Cash, I Was a Man, Good Time with a Bad Girl, and then in the last few years of his career, he did takes on The Wonderful Land of Oz, Thumbelina, Jack and the Beanstalk. This was one twisted motherfucker, and like I said, I don't want to go on too much because I want to do a whole segment on this. Not a whole show, but a good segment on this guy.
Well, we could do that.
So he's not doing the Andrew Dice Clay bit of like X-rated comedy about comic book characters.
No, this guy was, he's one of those guys that strikes me that he actually thought he was making some really good films here. Not one of those guys who was trying to make something campy and it just comes off as retarded. This is just this guy had one twisted mind. He like I said, I want to devote a good chunk of time to this guy because I don't know what he was thinking.
Well, sounds good. Maybe we should aim for the anniversary show then for 2 weeks from tonight, which will be the night before the show, and we can really pump people up.
Yeah, let's do that because I could ramble on and on about this guy, but I would actually like to prepare something that is a lot more coherent, and I'd love to get over just, there's a lot of wacky film producers out there who put a lot of B movies out, but this guy kind of stands out. Did a lot of B movies, a lot of nudie movies, and then went into the family film segment, and just very interesting. Another interesting note is he managed the career of Errol Flynn for a while.
Oh yeah, before we have to mention the new email too, so don't forget that.
Oh yes, take it away, Fredo.
We have a new email for the show. It's slamminstan@hotmail.com. The reason we did this is because Dr. Lucha can't seem to get through the Earthlink account.
Every time I send you an email, it says, Alfredo doesn't approve of you.
Yeah, for some reason, I think and you know what I noticed? I noticed somebody else sent me through a Gmail account, and it won't let the Gmail. For some reason, Gmail can't get into Earthlink. So I decided
that's probably it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I always knew Alfredo never approved of me, but he still takes my emails.
Yeah, so we now have...
Well, look, if you had taken me to Reno, Paraguay week after week, I wouldn't approve of you either.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially if you would have seen the place.
And you know what? I do not blame you guys.
Yeah, we wouldn't have approved of you, Kurt.
But Steve Siddons did see me wrestle at La Fogata.
Absolutely.
What did you rate Kurt's matches? We should do a show where you rate every single match of Kurt Brown.
The highest matches ratings he got was whenever he would channel the Red Hot Chili Peppers during his ring work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whenever I would stomp down Physical Nuclear, I'd start chanting, "Give it away, give it away, give it away now." Those were fun matches. I miss those.
That was the best.
That's up on YouTube.
Yeah, that's the one thing I miss about being young. Everything else about you.
Again?
What's that?
Are you going to wrestle again at any point, or is that?
Well, as a matter of fact, Dan Farron and I have been talking about having a bit of a Cal International reunion show.
Who would be involved? Just you and
anybody we know who really wants to be involved.
Oh, okay.
But in fact, we'd have to have Dr. Lucha do a run-in and pin one of the somebody like Physical Nuclear or Lucky Pierre or Vandal.
As long as you guys don't have those clowns at any point during the show.
The clowns?
Remember the Eric Caden friends?
Oh yeah, the non-wrestlers who did that wrestling match.
Okay, guys.
No, the only clown we would have is Incredibly Strange Wrestling's Doink Diggler, the dirty long-hung clown.
And this is actually going to happen, or is it just still...
We don't know yet. Yeah, I just want to say we've been kind of proposing it. Thought about just having like a reunion show, not so much to turn a profit, but just get everybody together and in sort of a Johnny Legend vein, have a block party that involves a lot of wrestling.
This won't be happening during the warm...
I hope not. My God, I'm going crazy with this weather.
Steve, how's the weather where you're at?
Well, where I'm at, it's fine, but I'm going up to see the UCLA game on Saturday. I've got like 6 or 7 white masks to put over my nose to block out all the ash.
Yeah,
I know I have ash all over my car, and what's driving me crazy is not so much the heat. That's driving me a little crazy, but what's driving me nuts is I have not been able to go running, and that is my antidote after work every day.
Yeah.
And I'm just climbing the walls, so since it's still not good air quality, I'm probably going to just go hit the gym and pump a little iron and hope those endorphins get flowing.
There it goes. We should end the show now, guys.
I think you're right.
I think I'm getting tired. My ears feeling the pain.
Yes, well...
By the way, does it cost you guys to have like an extra 20 minutes onto the podcast?
No, just
is this like coming out of somebody's pocket?
No, it's just a phone call, the long distance call. Like if you're paying for long distance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not. It's the show. The podcast doesn't cost anything. It's free.
Yeah.
They have a premium service.
Well, Fredo, who is...
Wait, Kurt, let me tell Dr.
Okay, you talk.
Kurt refuses to pay the premium service. Am I right, Kurt?
I refuse! In the words of Captain Lenny, I refuse!
Okay, Kurt, go ahead.
Maybe when the podcast hits a million downloads a week, you'll go for the premium service.
There you go, yeah.
That will do, yes.
Like
yeah.
They have an option where you can actually get paid advertising, but like it's so much red tape you got to go through. It's not really worth it.
And it's so fun just to kind of do it and keep it simple and keep it fun.
And it's free. So.
It's free. I wish I want to work on being a little more literate when I speak and a little less like spaced out. But we can only wish so much.
Kurt, we still haven't done any of our Meltzering thing, where we're going to do the Dave Meltzer talking over one another.
That's right. It's a new verb, Meltzering, when you talk over somebody and don't even realize it.
Yeah. We'll have to have Steve mention it on Brian's show.
Definitely. Would you do that for us, Steve?
Mention the word Meltzering?
Yeah, because you notice how when Dave Meltzer is talking with somebody who phones in on their podcast, how he'll start talking over the person and not even realize it, and after a while you hear a frustrated Brian Alvarez, guys, you're talking over each other.
I can mention that.
Mention it, please, because it along with the word Guajardian, we want to get a new verb out there called Meltzering.
All right. Well, Guajardian is my verb, is my adjective of the week. So.
Oh, awesome! Once it gets in the thesaurus and the dictionaries, we'll be so happy. Well, as always, Fredo, who is the main pilot of this podcast, totally rocks. Check out slambamjam.com, because this guy has the most bitchin' videos you'll ever see at great prices. And what's your other site, Fredo?
LuchaWorld.com.
And my site is stantheembryo.com. And I'm planning on getting into a bunch of writing projects. Lately, I've just been...
You can't go out, Kurt. You can't go outdoors, so you might as well write, right?
This is true. That's how I'll let off my pent-up energy is writing. Lately, I've just been doing a bunch of daily updates on there, little historical timelines, that sort of thing. But I think I'm going to do something a little more substantial in the near future. So check out my site frequently, folks. And Steve, I hope that when you finish that story you were talking about, that you'll send it our way.
Absolutely, and as soon as I can figure out how to get this formula into StanTheEmbryo.com, we will prove scientifically that the zombie invasion cannot be stopped.
Rockin'. Well, thank you both. This is Slammin Stan number 11. And remember, any of you out there in Southern California, if you see a bright light streaking across the night sky, it is not a shooting star. It is a heavenly handful of Moncel's powder, approved by the maniac John Tolis, one of the great angels of Southern California. Take care till next week, my honeys. Bye.